Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to talk about how you can build a graphical user interface for your applications in C++. And I am going to start the whole series like how to build a professional graphical user interface for your applications in C++. And yeah, if you follow this series properly, in the end you will be able to design a really professional graphical user interface for your applications. And in today's tutorial, we will look some software to build a graphical user interface, and we will also look about the some basics of this software, how we can use this software, or how we can build a simple graphical user interface. And in the end of this tutorial, you will be able to build a registration form. Uh, yeah, and so we start our tutorial, and the software we are using is Qt. And to install this software, open your terminal and type sudo apt install Qt creator. Here, type your password here. Yeah, it's done. I have already installed this, and the next thing you need to install some required libraries for this software, and for this you need to type sudo apt install mm, build build essential. Yeah, I have already done this, and the next thing you need to install the Qt software itself, and for this you need to type sudo apt install qt5 default. Yeah, I have done this, and the next thing, if you require the documentation from the Qt and also some pre-built examples from the Qt, for this you need to type again sudo apt install and qt5 doc and qt base 5 doc html, and the last thing you need is qt base 5 some examples from the Qt. Yeah, so it's done, and we are done with the installation of the software. And the next thing, we will go and look inside the software. So for this, open the Qt creator. Yeah, here is your software, and why we are using this software. It is so flexible. It is a multi-platform software. You can build GUI for each platform using this software, for Linux, for Windows, for Mac, and even for your mobile phones also. So you can create a new project from here, and you can see you can create a different types of applications using this software. And for today we will just look into the widget application. We will cover other type of applications in our next tutorials. So you can see this type of application is supported for all desktops. You can use it on Linux, Windows, and Mac. And we will choose this, and here you can write the name of your project. I will write like tutorial 1 of qt5. Yeah, anything. And here is the folder where this project is created, and click on next. And yes, and Qt use like different kind of build systems. He has his own kind of build system like qmake. It's similar like to cmake, but it also uses the CMake build system and QBS. We will look into other type of build systems in our incoming tutorials. And click on next, and here he's created some files for you automatically. Main window, which is inherited from the QMain window, and some header, source, and the user interface file. And for this, click next and next and next and finish. And when you finish it, you see it will create some files for you. And now we will look into each file one by one. And this is your main project file. It contains everything about your project. And here you can also define your libraries, and you can also link your libraries here. It is called a qmake file. Yeah, and in this file you have the first line is just qt plus equal to core GUI. Actually it means you are using the core and GUI modules from the Qt. and here we are using the version which should be greater than the 4, and we are using the qt5, so it's also fine. And the next thing, uh, mm, we again use the widget modules from the qt, so we defined it here, and we are use the configuration of our programming is C++11, and here we are just deprecated some warnings, and here we have defined our source files, header files, and our user interface file in the forms, and here we are just define the path for our targets. And now we will look into the header file. In the header file, we have include the QMain window from the Qt, and we have created a class main window which is inherited from the QMain window, and here we have defined some macro named QObject, and it is useful when you are when you are building a widget type application, and it is necessary when you are actually using the signal and slot functions from your graphical user interface. And the next thing, we have create our constructor and destructor, and in our constructor we have an argument of type QWidget, and in the main window we have the definition of our constructor, and in the constructor we have created the pointer of type main window, and here we are just using the pointer, and we are calling the setup UI, and this setup UI is actually the calling this user interface file, and in the destructor we are just deleting our pointer to free our memory. And if I run this program, here you will just see a empty main window, and in our main program, yeah, we have include our queue application, and in our main loop we have create an object of type queue application. Here we are actually initializing our queue application. So the queue type of application required its own loop, so that's why we have to initialize it here. And here we are just returning the execution, and this will create a loop, and inside this loop we are just creating the object from our main window class, and w.show is actually used to show the widget. And what we have right now is just an empty widget, empty main window box. Now we can insert different type of things like buttons, layouts, and sliders inside this main window, and you can insert everything in this main window using two different methods. First, you can also write the code for everything, and the second one is Qt has its own designer tool, where you can just where they have like some already pre-built widgets, and if you double click on this UI file, it will take you to its designer tool. And this is our main window right now, it's totally empty, and in the left box you are seeing the pre like already built some widgets from the QD, and like you don't have to write the code to create a queue push button, so it has already some already built and styled buttons here. And in the right box you have your hierarchy of your widget, like this is our main widget, and inside our main window we have our central widget, and this icon shows that the central widget has no layout. And we will see like how we can insert layout in this central widget, and we have our like menu bar and status bar which is here. And if you want to remove anything from here, I am going to remove the status and menu bar from here. You see the top is gone, the top tab is gone, and in this box here are the properties of our widgets. Like if you click on main window, you will here see the properties of the main window. This is our object name main window, which is from the class QObject. And here are some basic properties. The geometry, you can change the size of your main window. Here it is a fixed right now of 800 and 600, and there is another like size policy. This size policy plays an important role when you insert layouts. We will look into this later. And here is the minimum size, width, and height. it will useful when you resize your good graphical user interface. Like if you define some minimum size for your graphical user interface, and if you try to resize it more than its minimum user interface, the application will not allow you to resize it more than its minimum size. And similarly, the same here for the maximum size. And the size increment, actually it has a lot of properties. We will look into all of these properties in our incoming tutorials. And in order to build a professional GUI, actually each properties plays its very important role. Here you can change the font, cursor, and everything. You can also change the window title, like I can write it tutorial 1, or yeah, tutorial 1. Now if I run my application, you will see the title is changed. Now it's tutorial 1. And yeah, and there are also you can also change the icon for your main window. And yeah, there are a lot of properties. We will look in our incoming tutorials to each property one by one. And now we will insert some things in our main window. And first of all, we will insert some push button inside this main window. You just have to click and drag and place it here. And this is just a simple push button. And you can and when I add push button here, so you see it will also add in my hierarchy in here. And this push button is inside this center widget. If I delete this center widget, it will automatically delete this push button. And similarly, if you click on this push button, you will see the properties here of the push button. And yeah, this the object name for this push button is push button. You can also change it whatever you like. And this is the object from the push button class. And here you can also change the geometry of the push button. And similarly, the size policy, when you insert some kind of layout, so it will mm, like you will see a change when you say change size policy. But for now, if I change my size policy, you will never see any change, like expanding, yeah. So there is nothing changed in the button. But this fixed mean the button always remain to its fixed size even if I resize my GUI. Now we will look like how this property work. Like now we assign some layout to our central widget. Just right click on it, and yeah, just right click on main window and layout. And we will change its layout into layer form grid. Now you can sorry, it's if we have to change it a grid layout. Actually you can use any type of layout, and you can also break the layout if you don't want it. Now you see in the central widget, you see the icon, it's called a grid icon. And these are the layouts. You can also insert layouts from here. Just click and drag. Now our central widget has a grid type of layout. Now if I change my policy, so first I will show you without changing the policy. Like if I run my GUI, and if I resize my GUI, you see the button has always its fixed size. It is not becoming expanding or contracting. The button always has a fixed size. But if you want to if you want like this, if you change resize your GUI, the button also resize itself according to the size of the application. So for this, you have insert the layout. And now if I click on like expanding, so this is the horizontal expanding. You see the button is expanded horizontally. And if I click on expanding vertically, and you see the button fills this whole space of the main window. Now if you run your application, and if you resize uh, your GUI, so we called it expanding, so the button will also expand with the size of your GUI, you see. Yeah. And this is how the size policy works. It's an important, really important property when you are using when you're trying to build a really professional GUI. But for now, in this beginner tutorial, we will stick to the fixed size. And here are a lot of other properties: minimum size, maximum size, and same. We will look into each property one by one in our incoming tutorials. And here are some important properties, like you can change the text for your button. I will call it hello here, and you can also insert the icon for your button. You can choose any file, like I'm choosing this. You see it will create a icon behind your text inside your push button. And yeah, and you can also here uh, change the icon size of your button, actually the icon size inside your button. And here, this is the important property, checkable. Like if I run my GUI now, and it will create a button inside it, but when I click my mouse, so the button is in press state, but if I release my mouse, so it will go into the off state. Yeah, so like this. So, but if you make it checkable, it will work like a toggle button. We will see how it works now. I click the checkable property, and now if I click on button and release the mouse, it will keep its state. So, and if I again click on the button, so it will change its state and it will go into the off state. This is how the checkable property works. And the next property is checked. And like it is just to initialize the button. Like if I click on checked, so it will initialize my GUI. So when I run my GUI, so it is already in the check state. Now if I click, it will go into the unchecked state. So this is how the check property button. The auto repeat button is when we are using signals in some after some seconds again and again. So yeah, we will look into this in our next tutorial. And here are some push button properties. If you called it like flat, you see the boundaries are removed from the button. And if you unchecked it, so yeah, these are the some basic properties of the button. Now we will see how mm, you can generate a signal from the button, and what how we can use this signal. And actually we are going to look like if I click on this button, what will happen, if I unclick on this button, what will happen. And for this every button has a signal. Like for this you need to go to slots, like when these are the signals, like when you click the button, what will be happen, when you unclick the button, press button, release button, toggle button. For now, I will just select the click property, click signal, and I clicked on OK. And you see it will create a new function inside your main.cpp. And actually, whenever you click this button, it will call this function and it will execute anything inside this function. For example, I will include for some qdebug. And qdebug is just for debugging, and it is similar like the cout and in our C++. So now I will print something inside this function. um, Sorry, here, like clicked. Yeah, now if I run my GUI, and if I click my button, it will call this function and execute whatever inside in this function. Like if I clicked hello, you see it will print clicked in the console. If I again click on the button, it will send the click signal and it will call this function. Yeah. And if we want to use this button like an on and off, there is an a property from the button. You can have to write it in the if else statement. If statement, like your pointer and your object name, I call it like bt1 btn1. And then it's like function like is checked, checked. Yeah. And we have to define the boundaries of if, and similar for the else. Yep. And for the else, we can copy this qdebug and place it here, and we can change it into on and off. Now your button will work like on and off button. So now if I run my GUI and see what will happen, you see if I click on this button, it will go into the off on state. You see, and it will print here on. And if I uncheck this button, it will go into the off state. This is how you can use this check function and how you can call the signal and slots. So this is the concept of the push button and the signal slots. Now we go back into the designer tool and we will see the other buttons who are very similar to this type of push button. And there is another button, radio button, which has two states. And now we have a grid layout. You can see that it will add into a next row. And you can also add button in the columns because we have a type of the grid layout here in our central widget. For now, we will delete this, and yeah, the radio button has also two states, on and off, and similarly the checkbox has also two states, on and off. So these three buttons have like similar kind of functionality. So yes, this is the idea of the push button and the signal and slot. And next we will see some other basic things to create a registration form. Here is the line edit. We can add line edit here, and yes, you can edit anything inside it. This is just a text edit. And here are some labels in the display widget, and this is used to tagging your things. Label, yeah, you can use to tag, put the label for things here. And now we will use these three things and create our designer form. Now I will delete this and delete this and delete this button also. Remember, if you delete this button, but in your main window.cpp we have called it slot, but now we will delete this button, we have also to remove it from here, and it's also from the main window.h. You see it will create a slot here. When signal always cloud the slot is just a sum function, so we have to also remove this. Now again go back to your main window.ui, and now we will build a some simple registration form. And for this we will add another layout inside our central widget. You see our new grid layout is added in our central widget, and in this layout we will add our things to build a registration form. So we are using just simple line edits and some labels for it, like what will the first line edit represent, like it is the first name, yeah. So this is the tag for our first line edit. And similarly you can add another line edit in the next row, and you can like name it, you have to put another label here for it, and you can write it last name. Yeah, and you can add as many as you want here. And we will add one more for the, and uh, yeah, and another label, you can write it like email. And we need also to add some button here, and yeah, here in the next, and we will write it like a submit button. And again, you can change the name of the object here. And yeah, so now if I run my application, you will see a simple registration form here. Yeah, and you can write your first name here, last name, and your email. And I will show you, you can also create the signal what will happen when you click on the submit button. So it will create some text file and send it to the host or something else you want to do with your, yeah, this is the simple registration form. For now we will end our tutorial here, and in the next tutorial we will see some other widgets and basics of these widgets. And yeah, and I think today is enough for this tutorial. And if you like this video, please subscribe my channel and also press the bell icon to get the updates of the new uploads. And see you in the next tutorial, and bye bye.